आचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तः पुनः पुनः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। So for the invocation mantra, Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhutaguhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarvavidhe Namaha. So in the previous classes, we have been looking at a topic called Tattvajnana Swabhava Prakaranam or Jivan Mukti Prakaranam. And we have been seeing how, I think from the last class, we remember in verse number 4, we saw how the prarabdha karma is applicable to a jnani also. For the ajnani, prarabdha karma is there, sanchita karma is there, agami karma is there. Because the samsari is very much attached to samsara. In fact, he loves samsara. It's a special bond between him and the samsari. So he doesn't want to just come out of it yet, because the comforts provided by samsara is far greater than what he is going to lose by attaining jnana. So such a person will never leave samsara, and it also indicates a person who is very much attached to the rituals, duties, pujas, worship, prayers. All these people who are very much attached there, they will never be able to come out of that, because the loss is far greater for them, which is going to be the next topic, which is going to explain next topic. But here also, this is referred in indirect manner, where the jnani, even though he has got a prarabdha karma, he accepts the prarabdha karma, he doesn't criticize his prarabdha karma, because it is only through the prarabdha karma he has been given a physical body. And the physical body is the only way by which he has been able to achieve this jnana. See, if you don't have this structure as human body, the body mind complex, it is not possible for you to come to this class or attend all these classes and then understand what the Vedas talk about. Okay. That's why we saw Arabdasya Karmanaha Falehi Hetehe. So we saw this. So of the Prarabdha Karmas, the Bhogam and Jnanam. Right. So this is a Falaha. Karmanaha Falaha means the Jnanam is also a Phalam, and the Bhoktutvam also is a Phalam. Because one is coming from the physical body, and through the physical body's use of physical body, the jnanam also is a phalam. Right? So there are two things achieved there. But these two are not enemies, because they can coexist. Because it is not doing any harm. The prarabdha karma is not contributing to any more karmas. It is just there because some previous set of karmas were there, and you have been given this physical body, and you are just going through that. But what you are doing is, you are doing intelligently, you are making a decision to stay away from further agami karmas. So the kartutvam and bhoktutvam is actually removed cognitively by way of jnana. So the jnani continues to live in society, continues to transact. So previously what they asked was, if a person achieves jnana, say tomorrow, let's say all of us have no ahankara, we all become jivan muktaha. Then, according to the Purva Paksha, you should also get videha mukti. That means you must die also. But because a jnani is not supposed to have any rebirth. So what is the point of him living in this world when he's already attained jnana? So according to the Shastra, a person who attains jnana has to leave this physical world. This is the argument. And for that, this number 4th verse says here, Arabdasya karmanaha falehi hetehe. Means this becomes hetuku. This is not, just becomes a reason. So prarabdha is the reason why he is existing. And once the prarabdha is over, because the physical body has got a certain life, certain time is there. When it is over, he will, because he's already a jnani, he has understood what it is. There is no need for the physical body to come because he doesn't have any more interest to do any karmas. Whereas on the contrary, the ajnani or the person who is not a jnani, the one who is called a samsari, the one who has got a view that he is very much involved in samsara, for such a person, this prarabdha karma also will be there. At the same time, this person continues to have kartutva and bhoktutvam also. So he has got the doership and the enjoyership, which is what is making him not able to come out of samsara. And the longer you stay in samsara, the longer you stay in that aspect, the more you get deeper stuck in there. It is like, the quicksand. So when you just fall into the quicksand, right? There's no way of coming out. You cannot come out just like that. Slowly you will sink, and one day you will just go down inside. Unless one passerby comes across and says, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, "I actually fell into this pond, into this quicksand. So would you like to come out?" He says, "At the moment I'm enjoying this, very cool and everything there." So he says, "Yes, I want to come out." Then he gives a stick. So you hold on to the stick, I will pull you out. So it is not going to be immediately the moment you put the stick on, he's going to pull it out immediately, correct? Because he's so deeply stuck in the the mud there. And it's called Pudai Manal, in Tamil we call Pudai Manal. So that means where you will bury yourself. So even if you give a stick to the person who is stuck in quicksand, you try to pull him, it is difficult for a person to just take him out just like that. So there's an effort involved for him to let go of his fear. If he is fearing that the stick will break. Second thing is, what happens if the jnani also falls into the same thing? Due to the weight of my body and due to the weight of my own ahankara, if I pull the stick too hard, and what if he also falls, then both of us will drown. So he doesn't want that to happen also. He's worried about, number one, his own protection. Second thing is worried about the stick being used. Is it good enough? So bhayam, the doubt is there, shanka is there. The third thing is, even if I come out, whether this person who has taken me out, what is he going to do? He said, he is going to go away, or is he going to take me to some other place because he is lost. He cannot go anywhere. So all these doubts come for a samsari. Is it right? So if you are in samsara, all these things comes. And for such a person, there is no freedom. Because Vedanta tells that you are Aham Brahmasmi. It tells you that you are the Brahman. But if you are not willing to accept what you are, then nobody can correct anything for you. If somebody says you have vision, you can see. If you go to the doctor, the eye problem, and the doctor says that he puts all the numbers and says, "Do you see this? Number 4, number 3, number 2. and you keep alternating back. See, the doctor cannot see your problem. Doctor only advises whether you see or not. He says, according to me, your vision is clear, you should be able to see. But you say that I'm not able to see. Then doctor also cannot do anything because he cannot come into your eyes and see whether he's seeing or not. This is a problem also with the person who is deep-rooted, stuck in ahankara, in samsara. That is what it says here. Arabdasya karmanaha phalehi hetehe bhogo jnanam cha karmana bhavataha. So this physical body is because of physical body only the jnanam is possible. So they are not virodaha, they are not enemies. Prarabdha karma and jnanam are not virodhi because prarabdha karma does not actually add to further problem. It only presents a problem in terms of pursuing knowledge. There will be some bhada. You'll have headache, you'll have sickness, you will not be able to walk. So there will be some disturbances here and there. But the person who's striving for jnanam will overlook those things and he will try to push and at least go through that, understanding that this is something which I cannot avoid. So he is not going to say that let me get fully recovered, and then I will start again after maybe 20 years. Or doctor says you take rest for 5 years. Supposedly. Are you going to wait for 5 years doing nothing? He says no. Okay, I will just pull along. So the moment you get fit or you are able to pursue your studies, you will first opportunity will get. So this is how the jnani also operates in the society. Even though the jnani has got a physical body, you see eating, talking, enjoying, everything going on there. So you may wonder what is the difference between him and me. But there's a big difference in terms of understanding. Cognitively, the person understands what agami karma is, what sanchitam is, what prarabdha is. He is reconciled to the fact that prarabdha is something which I can't avoid. Thereby, and because of the prarabdha only, I got this capacity to do jnana, to get jnana. So he is not actually worried about it. And prarabdha also doesn't disturb that person that much. Because if your resolution is very strong, say if you come what may, I got headache, I got cold, I still have to attend the classes, I still have to go. You pull yourself in, right? Then your body also will support you to some extent. It will give you some temporary break. Let's say 1 hour if you want to attend a class. And if you think it is too difficult for me to attend today, it's not possible. Then the body also will say, okay, so you don't want to attend, lie down. So that is how the mind works. But when you say that I want to do this, I have to somehow push this, then all your mind, intellect, everything supports that, correct? So this is how the jnani performs. He just continues the society. So that's why he says tayoho avirodha yuktaha. So of these two, the prarabdha and brahmagyanam are not virodaha. They are actually, sometimes they just coexist and there's no problem with this existence. But itarasya to vaidharmyam. So itaraha means what? Others. But the other two, so vairihi dharmyam. So why dharma means what? Why means enemies. And they are sanchitta karma and agami karmas. They are enemies to jnanis. Because if a person believes he has got agami karma, then he'll also incur sanchitta karma. Hope you know what is agami karma, right? Agami karma is the person who does while a person doing activities, he considers himself as a doer, he considers as an enjoyer, thereby all the phalam, punyam and papam accrues to the personal account of the person. And this continues till the prarabdha also is there. So as long as the physical body is there, he will continue to incur punyam and papam, and those things will accrue to sanchitta karma. because he has not attained jnana yet. It is also possible for a karma yogi also to be not possible to accumulate sanchita karma. See, if you just be a karma yogi, having interest in moksha, you continue to have the same vision as what you are before, it is also not going to help you. Because you are not ticked over from karma yogi to jnana marga yet. You are still there. Everything is there. But you still have the sense of doership and enjoyership. Still have. You are not actually fully resolved everything. So only in Purna Jnanam only this will be resolved. So I say Itarasya to Vaidharmyam. So Prarabdha Karma made Brahma Jnanam possible, but Sanchita Karma and Agami are not contributing to Jnanam. There is Vaidharmyam or opposite to Jnana. This is what we saw in the class so far. Is it correct? Is it clear? This. Okay. Now, there is a question raised by one of the Purva Paksha. So always we have a Purva Pakshi or somebody in objection raised by somebody. So what is the question? Is there a possibility that while the jnani is experiencing prarabdha, is it possible for him to forget his knowledge and return to samsara? See the question. The question is, supposing if I become jnani. So I've been a karma yogi. I recently gained a new degree called jnani. So once I get a degree, is it possible that I forget what I learned before? Or can I, from becoming a degree graduate, can I start to be like a 10th standard or 11th standard person? This is the doubt asked by the. So the question is different. He says you are putting jnani on a very high scale, on high pedestal. And you are saying that the prarabdha karma also doesn't affect him that much. So we accept that. Or he's not accepting it, he says, okay, the Shastram says we're okay with that. But the question is, after attending jnanam, will I go back to samsara or will the jnani go back to samsara again? Shastram says yes and no. So there are two answers. There are two different types of people out there. Number one, a person who has been studying Brahma Jnana. And a person can study for two aspects. One for Atma Jnana and one only for just theoretical knowledge. So Vishaya Jnana. So Atma Jnana and Vishaya Jnana. So Vishaya means object. So it is I like to read Upanishads, I like to study Upanishads, I like to read different texts. I understand what the meanings are, and he or she is interested only in the academic aspect of what it is being said. So there is one set of school of thoughts who are there. He is also classified that he is a Vidwan, he is very well studied because he can quote from different Upanishads. If you ask him, he will quote from different Upanishads. This text, that text. So when you talk to him, you will see that, oh my God, he's so well read, well knowledgeable. Because they are all called scholarly approach. They are called Vedic scholars. But such a person need not have the real knowledge of what is being taught. So it is all bookish knowledge. It is only knowledge which is appearing in the paper. You can write theses. You can write, elaborate notes. You can talk. He's a very good orator. Convince a lot of people. It's all there. But those are not the real knowledge. So those people who follow that kind of philosophy, those people who come into that category, there's always a possibility that such a person can come back to samsara. And they can, and they might also, because they have gone that far and they have understood what everything is. but they are not able to continue for long, because for any knowledge to be firm, you have to be believing in this, you have to be living a lifestyle according to what it is. So unless you live a lifestyle which is in conformity with what you've learned, that will not become part of you always. So one can become a rich person, but then the rich person has to live like a rich person, correct? He has to, if you become a rich person, then you'll have a big house, you'll have to have a status according to that, and you live like that. If you become a rich person and you continue to live like a poor person, then it's not going to help you. So you have to be living that lifestyle, you have to be advocating the lifestyle. But it is not possible because that person has only had a theoretical knowledge, academical knowledge, and not being able to apply in practice. So there's an interest to study Brahma Jnanam also is there. Shastram allows a person to study whether you have qualification or your adhikaratvam or not. Because it's actually for a person to assess whether he or she is ready or not. Then the second category of people are the person who are pursuing Brahma Jnanam, but purely with understanding or with a view for attaining Atma Jnanam, that is for understanding the very purpose of your existence, understanding the final truth of Atma being Akarta, Atma being Abhokta. So, in this question, he is not saying which Jnani it is talking about. He is not saying which Jnani is talking about. According to them, Jnani means understand that there are different types of people out there. So anybody for them who quotes the Upanishad is also Jnani. But Adi Shankara says here that I am not referring to what you are talking about. I do not know what reference you are making and how you are making. When we say a Jnani, it talks about the Jnani who is Atma Jnana. The one who has got profound knowledge of the subject, and also the one who has taken ownership of Atma as a self. Hope you got the two different people out there. So very important. So this is answered in this verse. So let's look at the verse here. Dehatma jnanam ajnanam dehatma jnana badakam atmanyeva bhavedyasya sanechannapi muchyate tatas sarvamidam siddham prayogosma biritaha. So dehatma jnanavat jnanam. Dehatma jnanavat, actually jnanavat jnanam. So it's not ajnanam, jnanavat jnanam. That means a person who has got identity, he knows the body is there, and he also knows why the body is there, jnanam, and through the body being there, he becomes aware about the jnanam also. So the same thing continued from the previous verse, but he says here that this person we're talking about, he's not an ordinary person, he's a person jnani who has accepted the prarabdha as physical as a body there, and through the physical body only he has attained jnanam there. Right? So Sita Pragyaha is talked about here. Then Yasya Jnanam. So Yasya Jnanam Deha Jnanam Atma Badakam. So knowledge of this nature. So Yasya Jnanam means what? Knowledge of this nature. So just as Jnani, what is for him Sita Pragyaha, the one whose knowledge is firmly established. See, when a person's knowledge is not firmly established, he will have a fleeting knowledge. He will have a bookish knowledge, he will have a theoretical knowledge, he will read it, it will not be very clear for him. But even if you learn a particular aspect of it, you must have a very, very firm knowledge. Correct. So, Sthita Prajna. So, whereas for an Ajnani, Dehatma Jnanavat. So, Dehatma Jnanavat means for a person. So, Dehatma Jnanavat is for a person who is a Ajnani. He is very much having a concept of Dehatma Buddhi. So, he gives two different types of people. So, Ajnani who has got Dehatma Buddhi is being discussed, because even though he becomes a Jnani, he still has got Dehatma Buddhi. He still says, oh, I'm a very Pandita, I have read so many Shastras, I can quote from this. So he still got the Ahamkara concept, the doership concept, and because of that he enjoys popularity. So Kartutvam Bhoktatvam is there. A Jnani doesn't go and tell that I know so many Upanishads. How many people you have seen, good teachers, they go and tell everybody that I can come and teach you so and so. I know 20 Upanishads. I can quote from here. They don't go and advertise. They do not go and self-propaganda. They do not write extreme big articles, lectures, and theoretical things. They don't write. If at all they write, it is only for their academic interest they will write. But a person who keeps on writing articles after articles, books after books, then he published Amazon, he has copyrights, and every book he sells, he makes money out of it. Those are all still called, they come under this Dehatma Jnanavat. So, Dehatma Jnanavat, I am body so firm in that Ajnani. Whereas for an Ajnani, this particular phenomenon, this particular knowledge that Dehatma Jnanavat, Deha Jnana Atma Bhadakam. See, Deha Atma Jnana Bhadakam means what? His knowledge that the physical body has been negated. He has negated. Bhadakam means he is reduced or reduced. So the word Bhad means he is reduced. Or from two he has become reduced that, okay, I do not have any connection with the physical body. Prarabdha is there, it is there, let it be there. He has negated that. Atmani eva bhavet. So this bhava is negated, the physical body ownership is negated. Such a person is called Jivan Muktaha. Then Atmani eva bhavet asya means having taken ownership. Atmani eva bhavet means what? Having taken ownership as Atma, as one's own self, of true nature. Saha na ichchannapi muchyate. Saha na ichchaha api muchyate. Means the Jnani cannot say, I do not want liberation. See, once you come into this particular class, or once you have taken interest in Vedanta, you cannot go back. You cannot say that, oh my God, I came wrongly to this class. And once you come into the class, into the Vedanta fold, knowledge will occur. It may be delayed. It may be prolonged. But Jnanam will definitely come. You cannot say that I want to come to the class, but yet I do not want to get Jnana. It is not possible, right? So whatever you do, once you are into that particular lifestyle, then it will definitely occur. So it may be a bit long. So that's what it says here. Saha na ichchaha. So ichcha means what? Even he cannot claim saying that I do not have any ichcha. Right? Api muchyate. So it means I do not want to be free, or I do not want to attain Brahman. He cannot claim that particular statement. So the Jnani cannot claim that, and he cannot come back and say that I will come back and give another lecture, or I'll have another liberation, or come as some other avatar. See, but he cannot come back and say that, see, I do not want to attain moksha as the janma. I would like to pursue what I am doing, and I would like to attain moksha as the janma. Or I can come back and teach Vedanta to somebody else next janma. I can come as an avatara purusha. Okay, so all these avatara purusha you see there, they do not come back. But this topic is raised because what happens to the person, will he come back to samsara? What is the question asked before? After attaining jnanam, will the person come back to samsara in some form or the other? He can be in samsara means what? He can come in some form. He can come in form of thought. He can come in form of idol. He can come in form of prayer, worship, avatara purusha. See, இப்போ நிறைய பேர் அவர் avatara purusha sir. So avatara purusha means what? That he has taken avatara in some form. So this is mentioned specifically because an Ajnani has got a view that he will follow this cycle. That at the Janmatla again they will be getting jnana, somebody else will come, and I will again be a bhakta of this person, and again I'll continue this like this. That is Saguna Brahma Upasana is there. But from Saguna also the person understands Nirgunam also. He understands from Saguna he has to go Nirguna also. So here he talks about the Brahman, also the Jnani is specifically mentioned by the Shastram that after attaining Brahma Aikyam, there is attaining one with Brahma, becoming Jivan Muktaha, then one attains Videha Mukti. He leaves the physical body. Videha Mukti means Deha Mukti. The physical body also goes. And is the Jivan Mukta already there. Such a person cannot be brought in any form or thought again. See the view. So he's saying that you cannot bring the person, or the jnani should not come back and say that I come as another Purusha. Hope you are getting right, because a lot of people who are there. They call sadhus, babas. They said I am Avatara Purusha. So I am the next avatar of this person. Or for an Ajnani, he would believe and he would just go and do sevas, etc. for the person there. Whereas Jnani thinks that once you attain Brahma Aikyam, what is the purpose of you being attaining Brahma Aikyam? You do not want to come back. You do not want to be coming as thought or in anything. So this is actually addressed to the people who are also following Mudhanambika. The people who are following those philosophical people who bring in some form or the other. It is saying that the Jnani cannot demand while living his Janma that he wants another Janma to continue to work. So liberation is forced. It means once you attain Brahma Aikyam, when you attain that you are a Jnani, when you have renunciated everything, you do not have any say in coming back anything. You do not come back. But before you enter anything, before you come take up this particular line of thought, you have a choice whether you want to be in samsara, whether you want to come to this line. So if you say that I do not want to be free, I want to continue to come back and learn this again, then you can be samsara. You do not need to do a lot of work. But once you take up this particular line, and once you're committed to this particular line, this is what your end goal is. That I do not want to come back. I want to be Brahma Aikyam. Then liberation is actually forced on you, and you'll attain liberation. So tataha, therefore, so you got the meaning so far? So tataha, therefore, sarvam idam siddham. So the points made in this chapter were made for a purpose. So tataha sarvam idam sarvam. You have to connect it to the previous chapters what has been discussed, which I'll give you a summary after the end of this one. So the previous chapter, what Aham Brahmasmi, the knowledge was given to you. Objections about ahankara, types of karma, etc. are taken care of in this chapter. So, in summary, what it means, sarvamidam siddham means the jnani will not have sanchita karma. Okay? The jnani will not have sanchita karma. Jnani will also not have agami karma. For jnani, there will be only drishta phalam. Adrishta phalam will not be there. And he is okay with accepting drishta phalam. Jnanam will not destroy prarabdha karma. Jnanam will not destroy prarabdha karma. Then this jnani will not have any more deha abhimanam also. So, sarvamidam siddham, that particular sentence, particular phrase, it means there are 5 things. Jnani will not have sanchita karma. Jnani will not have agami karma. Jnani will have only drishta phalam. Jnani accepts prarabdha karma, but he does not have deha abhimana anymore. So, sarvam vidam siddham. So, it's also a quote from Mundaka Upanishad. I don't know if Jay, you were there, Mundaka Upanishad class? You were there? Okay. See,
no.
You were not there. So, in Mundaka Upanishad, they said, Vidyate hridaya grantihi chidyante sarva shamshayaha. Kriyante chasa karmani tasmin drishte paravare. So in chapter 2, section 2, it is there. That means what? So hridaya gantihi chidyante means that knot which is tied to you. So hridaya ganti means what? That knot which is tied. Right? Chidyante sarva shamshayaha. So when knowledge occurs, the knots which are not perceived by you are removed completely. So you are a free person, you are somehow bound. See, nobody is actually bound you physically. You are only bound emotionally and something, there's an invisible rope being tied to you. So you are thinking that I am tied up. This is a very famous thing. If you ask me something, say I am tied up with so many things. I do not have any time. So I am tied up. So they say tied up means what? You are tied up with something or the other, you are preoccupied. How do you free yourself? You free yourself by understanding whether the activity is required or not, and then reducing those activities and then making yourself a bit free. So, vidyate hridaya grantihi chidyante sarva shamshayaha. So, shamshayaha means doubt. So, all the doubts which you have before will all be resolved when jnanam occurs. So, when knowledge comes there cannot be another doubt. So, you cannot say that, I've got knowledge now and I still have got doubts. It's possible you have doubts, but in Purna Jnanam you will not have doubts. When you've got Ardha Jnanam, half knowledge, there will be doubts. Like in Shravanam and Mananam, there can be doubts. But when you go to Nidhyasanam, you cannot have any more doubts there. Because Nidhyasanam is a stage where you are contemplating on what you have understood as Purna Jnana. And you're living in the state. So Nidhyasanam you can correct minor perception error, you cannot have a totally, completely different view. It can correct habitual errors which you make sometimes. Nidhyasanam is a stage where you correct habitual errors sometimes. Sometimes you forget. So Nidhyasanam is proposed by the Shastram to get over the habitual problem which you have. Whereas in Mananam, there is definitely an error is there. Because doubts are there, clarity is not there. So you are doing Shravanam, Mananam again and again continuously. In Nidhyasanam, you are not really seeking for any great answers. Because you already know the topic, you know the mantras, you know the meaning of the mantras, the unfolding of the vision, everything you already know. But you are keeping in touch with the Shastram because so that you do not want to fall into the habitual habit of not doing anything, just letting go. So it's a lifestyle being prescribed here. That even after achieving jnanam also, a person should continue to do teaching, chanting, whatever you're doing. You still have to continue because you do not want to fall in the old habit. So that is why he says here. Okay? So tataha sarvamidam siddham prayoga asmadhi iritaha. So this is what is said here. Iritaha, we say here. So all reasoning and logic, prayoga asmabi iritaha. So it is being said here that this Jivan Mukta, the one who is liberated, attains Param Aikyam and he cannot be coming back. So what was the question asked before? Whether the Jnani who has got knowledge, will he come back to samsara? Correct? This is the question we started discussing. The author says that yes, it is possible for a person to come to samsara if a person still has got deha abhimana. And if his knowledge is not firmly established as Aham Brahmasmi. For such a person, it is possible for you to go back to old habits and live in samsara again. So he may stop studying Shastram, he may stop pursuing anything, he will go back to his old habits of doing puja, punaskaram, rituals, etc. He will go back. Because it is something which he undertook to start something, but having understood that, oh, this is more than what I expected. As like the example of the person who has fallen into the quicksand. See, the quicksand person who falls there, he wants to get out and he wants to, now he says, like, I do not want to, he has rescued the person. So Vedanta rescues the person. He says, look, I'm giving you a knowledge. You come out, you come with me and I'll liberate you. But he's got doubts. He's got doubts about himself that whether I'll be rescued, number one. The second thing is whether the stick which is offering is strong enough for him to pull it out. Third thing is whether the knowledge which he's offering, the person who's standing there, scholar, is he capable of removing? So all the doubts come to this person. So because of these doubts which are there, it is difficult for a person to come out of samsara. So for such a person, he can go back to samsara. It is possible that he will go back to his old lifestyle because he does not want to be anymore connected with this. Whereas a person who's got clear vision, you rescue me, I'm in trouble, I'm in samsara kadal, I'm stuck there, and if you are going to relieve me and give me permanent happiness, I'm happy to come on board. So once he joins with the jnani and becomes the shishya, student, then what happens? There's no choice for you because he won't let you go again samsara. See, you can, unless you want to go, you can disappear. Is correct. But as long as you stay in this with the student, the teacher, as long as you stay with the students, the teacher is there, then the teacher will make sure that you follow and then you are able to get into this particular knowledge stream. But if you choose to choose a different line, then they will definitely ask, oh, what happened to this person? So I think I would like to go back to my old lifestyle. I'm not able to I don't find this interesting anymore. It's possible. See, in Atma Jnanam, so many people come in so many different lines. Some people go, they drop out. Some people go a little bit further, they drop out. Some people go all the way, also they're there. And they say like, I don't enjoy any of these things. It doesn't make any sense. So there are some people only who will go to the right to the end and will actually be owning the entire thing. That is why Bhagavad Gita says there are only one jnani you can find. Right? Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan man prapadyate. Correct? Vasudevam sarvamiti sacha atma sadurlabaha. That means the person who has got the vision of Vasudevam sarvamiti sacha atma sudurlabaha. And Durlabha means difficult. And Durlabha means very, very difficult to find such a person has got a vision. So that is what is said here. And the questions of the Purva Paksha has been answered. And with this verse, with last one, we completed Tattva Jnana Bhava Prakaranam or Jivan Mukti Prakaranam. Before we go into next class, next one, I just want to ask you, do you have any questions on this particular chapter? Anyone has got any questions?
Shankar, a quick one. So you're saying that there are two types of Jnani who are possible. One is the one who is in a true Atma Jnani. The other one is Vishya Jnani. But the concept of a Jnani will only appear when you have completely attained Atma Jnanam, right?
Correct.
If I'm in always quest for knowledge, so I'm just learning a lot of subjects. So I'm not supposed to be a Jnani in that subject.
Correct.
Jnani means an absolute Atma Jnani because that's what you're truly pursuing.
Correct.
So can you help me understand this a bit better, please?
Okay. See, Atma Jnani, when I say, the person, see, there are people, see, we are all pursuing knowledge. Correct. So everybody is studying Vedanta, everybody is studying this. And a person may study Vedanta for various purposes. Number one is a person may study because he is interested to study. And also there is something which is missing in the life of the person. Some connection, something is there and he or she wants to know the answer to the particular problem he's having. So people go to the doctor for various things, right? Somebody will say that I want to have only cure for headache. So they go to the person only for getting a particular treatment. Somebody will say, I want to have a complete checkup. So then you do a complete checkup and then you completely recover yourself. Every aspect you check, everything is recovered. So you know a particular problem and then you are only seeking answer for that. So if people come to study Vedanta and he studies for some years, masters a particular topic or something like this, then it disappears. So he's also supposed to be Jnani. When you say Jnana means knowledge. Okay. So knowledge means I have knowledge, sir. I have knowledge of the Upanishad. So if you tell somebody, I know Bhagavad Gita, I can chant Bhagavad Gita, I have knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. I can chant this mantra, I can chant this mantra. All these people say, Purushottam I can chant Durga Suktam. All this is knowledge of it. But you cannot call them as a Jnani because they are only academic knowledge only. They are academic knowledge because he is known for such a knowledge because he is good in that particular aspect. But whether it contributes to Jnanam is different. Because he or she will not understand what it means in the liberation. Whether it is being applied in practicality, he doesn't know. That is why the second type of people is Atma Jnani, both of them pursuing. But one person actually his interest is to understand the meaning of everything, understand the connection with him and the universe, understand and finally resolve the universe also in him itself. So he resolves all these Nitya aspects, everything, and then finally arrives only the truth. So once the knowledge dawns on him, such a person is referred to as Atma Jnani here. So once such a person gets Jnanam, he will not come back again to samsara because he has already removed the concept of Deha Abhiman. He has removed all the other things he has removed. He is not interested, he is not interested. Neti, he removed everything. He doesn't even have any more thing called have knowledge because knowledge also is a pratibandha. When you say that, you need to have knowledge, I say like this. Then you want to hold on to the knowledge, correct? So your question will be answered next chapter. I'm coming to that. So sometimes knowledge also is like a bondage. You do not want to give full knowledge to somebody. So what do? You only give part knowledge. Because if you give full knowledge to somebody, then he will also be equal to you. And you do not want equal to because such a person who's got academic knowledge will not give full knowledge to somebody. He will always hold on to something. In Brahma Jnanam, there's nothing like this. What is there? because you are only going to get free. You're not going to get any material benefits out of it. You're not going to get any fame, not going to get any degree. Right? You cannot go and tell that I am now a Brahma Vidya scholar. You cannot say, because if a person says I'm a Brahma Vidya scholar, means he doesn't know what Brahma Vidya is. Because when you attain jnanam, you do not speak anything, you just continue the way you are, then you already know what you are. So that is why there are two types of people are described here. The Atma Jnani is a person who is a true Jnani. The other type of Jnani he talks about is a bookish Jnani, or the Vishaya Jnani is only about Vishaya only, subject matter only. Subject matter, we a lot of people are there. Experts in subject. They are, if you ask them to write about a book on something, they will write. But when you ask them, why did you write like this? They will say, this is referred by so and so text, this is referred by so and so text, this is referred by so and so text. So he'll quote from different things. But whether you understand what it is, he cannot comprehend. So we have a lot of people like that. So his question was not very clear about which jnani is referring, the Purva Paksha. That is why Acharya said that there are two types of jnanis are there. One who has got dehabhimana, the one who has got no dehabhimana. Is it clear, Subbu?
Yes, Shankar. I think it's for me. Yeah, I was maybe hung up on the word jnani itself. So here it's, as you rightly said, subject matter expert. So the subject matter expert can also be termed as a jnani. So I was more hung up on the definition of jnani. Okay.
So subject matter expert also is a jnani also, because you cannot see. If you ask him, right, are you a learned person? I'm a panditaha. I'm a Sanskrit pandit. Right?
Okay.
I'm a chanting pandit. You say that. So panditya means what? Mastery. So mastery over thing does not constitute mastery over Atma or mastery over what you are. He may be a person who knows particular aspect of it. So such a person is not being discussed here. Whereas the Purva Paksha's question is, if a person has got jnanam, general jnanam, will he come back? Says yes, he may come back because he still has got Dehatma Buddhi there. But when a person doesn't have this concept called Dehatma Buddhi, he only has got Prarabdha, he will finish his Prarabdha, then his body will just perish just like everybody else. He is already Jivan Muktaha, living a life of Jivan Muktaha. You'll attain Videha Mukti, and then after Videha Mukti, he doesn't come back in any form of avatar. That means you must not bring the person who has attained Brahma Aikyam in any form in his Janma. That means the Jnani itself does not want to be brought back, number one. See, the thing is, the beauty of it. The Jnani itself does not wish to come back in any form to continue to do what he's doing. Otherwise, his purpose is negative. So what is the purpose of his pursuing Brahma Jnanam? He does not want to have Punarjanma. He does not want to be coming back in any form, in whether Kayikam, Vachikam, Manasam, or any form, thought form also should not be coming back. But you bring back a person, such a person in any form, that means you are actually not respecting the Jnani for what he had done in the previous life. Is it correct? Jay, you're following what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Because this is what we do. This Avatara Purushaha, Sat Purushaha. So he was like this before, we brought him here like this. He himself doesn't want to be. If you ask a question, do you want me to be there? I never asked you to bring me here like this form. He will say. But then, because of your, you want to be connected, you want to be like this, you want to do this. So this will continue for many generations. People will continue to be like this. Our generation control. So they will continue like this. So Brahma Jnani doesn't do this. That is why in our Shastras, we do not bring any Brahma Jnani, we do not offer any photo or anything, we don't do anything. The photo is kept there because as a remembrance to what he has preached. You must offer prayers, you must remember him to the teaching of what he has done before, not by bringing him into any form in life. Hope you got it right. This is the
But it is being brought by other people, not by that Brahma Jnani, right?
Correct.
So in that sense, Brahma Jnani is not worried when
not worried
other
about
people bring up and do some puja or prayer. It doesn't affect the Jnani himself.
Because the jnani is not worried about, see, let them do what they want to do, because you are distinctly different from those people. You're not connecting yourself with this, the pandita, so-called pandita, the people who know about these things. You're not worried about that. See, Satpurusha, let them continue what they want to do, let them bring. So they are all nice people, they are all doing good things, let them continue. But you have got no connection with those people, because that is why you do not follow, you do not go to this kind of satsanga, not because you're not interested, because you no longer wish to be connected, you do not have this anymore desire to be like this. Because you already attained that particular level of jnana. You do not feel connected to that. As a respect, you may go and do something, but just like the jnani does, the other activities in the society, the same, the body, physical body of jnana, he does teaching, he does goes, he does everything. He does not go there to become like that. Okay, so that is a fundamental thing. That is what doubt clarifies, that such a person who, even if he goes back to this particular lifestyle, he will not become like that, or he will not come back to samsara. So Brahmagyani is actually a different person. Whereas Vishayajnani is a different person. Okay. So we have a lot of Vishayajnanis are there. So many people are, not worried about it. Like a person can be a good, panditaha, or a religious person who knows all the mantras, rituals he can do, so many things he can do. But our interest is not that. Once you attain Atmajnanam, then period. That's why he says here what? There's no choice for you. So there's no choice. See, Sahana Icha Api Muchyate. What? He has got no choice of coming back. You cannot say that I want to come back. Because once you become sannyasi, right? Say if you take Atmajnanam, you become a sannyasa, mentally also. What do you take resolution? Sannyasa. I do not want to be coming back again. Correct? This is what you have sankalpa in your mind. Right? Having an orange robe, you are got now two things. Mentally you are resigned, physically also you are disconnected from society. You cannot just go back to any society samsara and then live like any other grahastha also. So the particular ashrama determines how you live also is determined, correct? But even though you may not be sannyasi having an orange robe, mentally you are sannyasi. So what do you do? I am not connected with this at all. So you renunciate mentally everything. And you live a lifestyle, even grahastha also, you are still detached. You're still living a life of complete renunciation. You just don't go so many things. You do not partake in so many activities which you want to do, and you live a lifestyle which is different. Now, when you've taken up this lifestyle, when you enjoy the lifestyle, would you like to go back and enjoy the same thing again? Or will you go back? You may not go back. Because your interest is not there anymore. Your mind has been replaced. Your knowledge has been replaced by new knowledge. So when new knowledge takes place, old knowledge goes away. You cannot say that you have a tattered old shirt and you want to get rid of the shirt. No, I would like to wear one more shirt on top of that. A new shirt. So you like to keep the old shirt, a very torn shirt, a dirty shirt, and also wear a new shirt. You don't want it. So what do? You throw the old shirt away, and then you take the new shirt. So do you still keep the old shirt with you as a remembrance? You don't. You give it. It's not a Sardarji joke. In the school days we will talk about it. Sardarji was there, so I'm not commenting. But there's one person, and he had a liking for a particular sock, and he wears the socks every day. He doesn't want to wash the socks because it will get crumpled, the elasticity will be gone. So his wife also gets frustrated one day. He says, how come you are wearing the sock every day and we can't tolerate it? So she goes and buys a new sock. So new knowledge is coming. Right? So new socks is coming, new knowledge is coming. He is being given that particular thing. So he wears the new socks, and then they all go to the party. Say, you are coming to the party with me, and I want you to wear the new sock, not the old sock. So you come with me. So he wears the new socks and goes, and they're all enjoying the party. Suddenly, the wife starts to smell something again, very bad smell coming there. He says, did you wear the old socks or new socks? No, see, I got new socks. He shows him new socks. Then where is the bad smell coming? No, I brought my old socks in my pocket because I don't want to get it out. So the old socks, which are really dirty, very rotten, everything, he still had in his pocket because he doesn't want to let go of it. So unless you let go of something only, you can enjoy. If you want to be in both the boats, you want to wear the new thing, you want to be in that boat, you cannot be in both. So for such a person, he will come back, he will be in samsara forever. Whereas when you remove the old things and throw the old things away, like vasam se jidan yata guhaya, correct? Just like the physical body, goes, takes a new shariram, new body comes. Same way you have old knowledge, you have new knowledge, and old knowledge doesn't come back again. Unless your knowledge is not very steady, you still are harboring old knowledge, then it is possible for it to go back. Is it clear?
Yes.
So that means what? That once you attain Brahma Jnanam, there is no question of going back. But till such time, there's always a fear of going back. So which is what is discussed in the end. It's also possible because of your unsurety or the doubtful nature or sometimes the samshaya. I do not know. Maybe I'll go back. So this is all possible. So which is the next topic? So what is the next topic? In chapter 5, it talks about Buddhi Aparadha Prakaranam. Buddhi Aparadha Prakaranam. So here also, take just 15 more minutes for the class. So it's a story, so you don't have to worry about nothing to listen. I'll introduce the story first. Next class, I'll actually text the text. So this starts with a story called Udanga Rishihi. So she called Udanga Rishihi, who's done great tapas. So he does great tapas, he does austerities, and because of his tapas and extreme commitment, Mahavishnu appears in front of him. And in the olden days, whenever a tapas is granted, Vishnu asks, what boon do you want? Because he's supposed to be giving a boon to everybody who is supposed to be doing austerities or great tapas. So it's a story. So the Mahavishnu comes in front of him. Udanga Rishi says, thank you, Vishnuji. I want to ask you something. So what do you want? He said, in the Devalokaha, all the devas are having amritam in the evening and they are dancing and enjoying all the Urvashis and Menakas, they are having a good time there. And they are always immortal because amritam is supposed to be having immortality. I also want to have the amritam here. And I also want to become immortal. So, because Vishnu has already said that whatever you ask, I'll give you, he says, Tatastu, and he goes. He goes and tells Indra that there is a person called Udanga Rishihi in the Bhulokaha, and I have given him a boon that you will have to share this amritam with him also every evening. So as and when you are having amritam there, he'll also have amritam there, and you will be also be like a devata, he'll be having immortality. And I have given this commitment, and you have to do it. Now, Indra cannot refuse Vishnu. Because it's a commitment. He can't. The Bhagavan says, I cannot do anything. So he says, okay. At the same time, Indra has got doubt also. See, if I give amritam to this person, he will also become a deva. Then he will be in competition with me also. He will also be immortal like us. Then there will be another deva here. I will also be deva. What's different between him and we fought this war with asuras. We fought this and we got this amritam from everybody else. Such a difficult thing we got. Until this person sitting in the Bhulokaha asking Vishnu some boon, and Vishnu says, go and give it to him. He says, I'm not going to give it to him just like that. So he decides to play a trick. What he does? He comes in the form of Chandalaha. So he comes as Chandalaha, very, very outcast person, very dirty person, and he carries the Amritam pot in his waist, ties around his waist, so that the pot actually hangs around the thighs, or in between the thighs. And he comes and says that, this is purposely done by Indra, because the pot could have been, he could have taken his hand also, he could have taken his arm also, but somehow he decides to tie the pot around his waist, and the pot is hanging just, between the two thighs, right in the position where you're not supposed to be having this. He comes and says, I am so and so, and I've been told Vishnu to give you Amrita. So this Rishi says, look at the person and says, oh, he is a Chandala. He is a dirty person, and he looks at where the Amritam is standing there, and he says, it cannot be Amritam, it could be only Mutraha, it could be only urine. And he's coming and giving me something which I should not be having it. So despite having knowledge, having buddhi, the buddhi does aparadaha, the buddhi does wrong thinking. At that time, see, even Adi Shankara also in Manisha Panchakam also, this Chandala comes there. So when Adi Shankara is going across the Digvijayam, and he proclaims that I am the new, I got knowledge, etc. Even for such a person also, the Bhagavan comes in the form of Chandala. So the Manisha Panchakam talks about that particular knowledge where Shiva comes as Chandala, and then in the asks, Adi Shankara says, Gachati, Gachati. He says, go from here. So he asks a question, okay, are you going to ask me to go from the physical body, or are you going to ask me from going from my own personal self? Which you are asking for? So there are two things. You go from the physical body, I can go. But are you asking from the Atma, the consciousness, which is my true essence, to be going there, or what it is? Then understand the Chandala is none other than Vivekihi. He falls at his feet, and then the Manisha Panchakam is taught. So it's a verse, 5 lines are there, 5 verses. Very powerful, very, very powerful. But here also, this person, because of the position and everything is there, he understands that this could be some bad thing. So he refuses Amrita. He says, I don't want, because if at all I have anything from you, I will also be contaminated by this particular, thing you're bringing, and it may not be Amritam, and I do not want to be contaminated by a Chandala. So he refuses. So in the same way, when Brahmajnanam is being offered to you by Vedanta, saying that you study this, you will become free, the samsari says, I do not want. Because he has got doubt in that. So even though Amritam is given to you in a Kalashaha, but because you are doubting the Amritam itself, you don't want to have that. So that is the topic, this is the essence of the topic being discussed. The story is being given in the first verse just to enhance or tell how the buddhi, aparada can actually, means what? Aparada means the wrongful thinking or the erroneous thinking in the buddhi can cause this problem of having freedom, availability on a plate, and yet you're not having it because you have a wrong perception. So that is the main topic for the next called Buddhi Aparada Prakaranam, or mistake committed by the intellect, which we are going to see in next classes. Is it clear? Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. See, this next chapter will clarify more doubts about a person who's doing karma. How does worship, puja, rituals, prayers, etc., and how this person holds on to it, doesn't want to let go of it. So again, talks to the person who is in twofold minds. Should I go or not go? Should I do this or that? So this is because of the buddhi aparadha prakarana. This amritam is given to you, but you do not know whether you should accept or not, or how far I should go. So to correct that error perception error, that topic is introduced again. Small 5 verses are there, but very powerful verses. So we'll meet next class.
Thank you, Shankar.